Hi, good evening. This is Dr. Taggy. I am a naturopathic doctor. And as a doctor of naturopathy, we believe that your symptoms are just a body feedback to let us know to look at the root cause. What is causing your illnesses and what is causing your body not to function properly? And we believe that we have natural solutions. We use natural solution as in nutrition, whole food supplements, herbs, and homeopathics to help your body heal itself and support your organs and replenishing it with nutrition and herbs so it can heal itself. So tonight we're going to talk about how stress affects our physical health. So let's get started. We are going to start with talking about what is stress and how it affects the body. So according to the Cleveland Clinic, stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or response. So the body reacts to these changes with physical, mental, and emotional responses. You can experience stress from your environment, from your body, but also your thoughts. Even positive life changes, such as a promotion or buying a house or even the birth of a child, is producing stress. So the body stress responds to stress in a few different ways. The human body is designed to react to stress by releasing a flood of what we call stress hormones, including adrenaline and cortisol. So the heart beats faster, your muscle tighten up, senses become sharper, you're way more aware of your environment. It increases our blood pressure and increases our breathing rate. So like I just said, being aware of our environment is the reason why we would have these type of changes in the body. The reason why this happens is because our stress is designed as a survival skill. So going back to the wild, when we lived in nature, we needed to be aware of our environment if we perceived a stress. So these changes help improve our strength and stamina. It speeds up the reaction time and it improves the focus and concentration. It keeps us alert. So again, going back to that example, I'm going to use that example a lot of living in nature and being in the wild. So if you lived in nature and you were about to reach out to drink from a coconut, for example, and you hear and you feel the leaves moving, that being alert and being aware of our environment allows us to pay attention to those leaves, because those leaves could be a tiger that is jumping at us. The speed up of the reaction time is also very helpful because it shuts down our critical thinking. Because if you see a tiger, you want to react right away. You don't want to go, oh, it's yellow. It has black stripes. What could it be? You would be eaten. That's why we're talking about stress response. Everything that the body responds to is a survival skill. But what are those responses? There is 3 responses. We have the fights and flights. Let's start with those. These are the most common that we hear about. Fight is basically the angry reaction, an agitated state of mind. The response is to fight the stimulus or overpower it. A fight response includes fighting or overpowering the stressor. The flight response usually consists of fleeing from the situation. So in the case of the example of the tiger, running away or withdrawing from the place or the event. We all know someone, or we've done it ourselves, that when we feel stress, we want to leave the room because our body is in that flight mode. The last one, but not least, is the freeze response. So freeze is the pressure of the situation makes the person freeze or paralyzed. It's very common in public speech when people just like block and can't remember what they were talking about. So there is extreme agitation going on in the mind, but the body remains frozen and does not react. A best example of that in nature again will be if you meet a bear and you think that your survival is on the fact of not moving and not breathing. So you're not breathing, you're not moving, hoping the bear is not going to see you and move away. So this is a freeze response. So what type of stress are we talking about here? I'm going to talk about the 3 most common ones. So acute stress is the response to an immediate perceived threat. Could be as in like on the spot type of stress. It's the body response to help our mind and body with the situation. It's the most common and most frequent type. It's also the least damaging kind. That's the good news. And the symptoms are short-lived. A good example of acute stress will be public speaking, for example. So I might be feeling a little bit more stressed. This is acute. And the symptoms could be things like speaking faster, a faster heartbeat, sweaty palms. But the moment I am done with my lecture, my body is returning to normal. The symptoms are short-lived. My heart rate comes back to normal and my hands are not sweaty anymore. The other type of stress will be episodic acute stress. So there is frequent bouts of acute stress. So now the acute stress is happening more often and the body is not adapting. So physical symptoms start lingering, taking on more responsibility that someone can handle. That's what it means. A good example of that will be driving in traffic every day. And every single time you drive at 7 a.m. or at 7 p.m. going back from work, you are dreading that traffic. So you stress, you're not adapting to it, and it's happening every single day. A good example of symptoms from acute stress will be a tension headache. It doesn't go away after the stress. You can be coming back home from the traffic, but you still have a headache. You're not returning to normal. And that headache can linger for the rest of the night. The last one is chronic stress. So when you basically feel trapped in a bad situation, the threat is always there. A good example of that will be like living in a war zone or being in some kind of abusive relationship, that when your threat is always around, your body is never going back to normal. This chronic stress is now your new normal. This type of stress affects the quality of life and onsets long-term health issues. So let's talk about what those are. So let's see how the body, how the stress affects the body and how the body reacts to stress. So the first thing that happens is basically the brain gets the ball rolling. So you picture stress, your hypothalamus, which is a hormonal gland, tells the body that you are stressed and tells you adrenals, which is the little glands here that produce cortisol and stress hormones. There are two glands for women, right, where their breast stripe will be right on top of the adrenals. There is two little glands called adrenals, and they pump adrenaline and they pump cortisol. So basically, they will start pumping those hormones until the fear is gone. Now, if the central nervous system, which where the hypothalamus is part of, fails to go back to normal, like the chronic stress, then now the response will always continue. So what happened is that basically your body is shutting down certain systems, is using all of the resources. Your lungs breathe faster in effort to equally distribute the oxygen into the blood. It also you may start feeling that like now it's always happening. You have a harder time breathing, shortness of breath, or even asthma. The other one is your digestive system shuts down. So under stress, your liver start producing more of the blood sugar response. So now you're sending to get that boost of energy, but you also could be from chronic stress. Your digestive system can be so tense, your muscle, that it shuts down completely. So we can see three different types of response. We can have the blood sugar being raised all the time and ended up with diabetes. We can see that shutting down completely and not having a bowel movement, or you're so stressed and you're having those spasms and you can end up with diarrhea. So all of these could be a sign of chronic stress. Overeating, undereating, they're all a sign also of that. Another thing is that shuts down when chronic stress is the reproductive system. Going back to that image, when you are in the nature, you would actually not be, your body thinks that you are in some war zone. It's not safe to have a body, to have a baby. So the body is not going to be increasing your libido. You see a decrease in testosterone and estradiol. You will also reduce your fertility and sexual behavior, loss of sexual drive. All of those are meant to protect you, protect that future baby from the threat that you live in. So I'm going to touch base on some of the other ones, like we talked about the pancreas and the insulin. I talked about the immune system also gets shut down. So stress can make it harder for the immune system to battle or recover from an illness. And you end up in that state of constant inflammation. The skin also responds to stress by responding, like I talked about the liver earlier, the digestive system. So if you're not eliminating, if your liver is not eliminating, if you're constipated, now your skin is picking up the slack. I'm touching base a little bit here with my lymphatic lecture that I did last time. It is in our page, Facebook page. So watch it and see why the skin picks up the slack when the channel of eliminations are not open. Part of them are the stomach and the intestines. Another one, so the enzymatic response is getting low, the inflammatory response, we talked about diabetes, and we touched base already on the increased blood pressure, the heartbeat, and all of that. Another thing that is a normal stress response, and we see a lot, is when there is mood changes, and it's not short term. You're not just, you're not just in this, it's stress. Now it turns into an actually like anger or depression or irritability, and now it's turning into being exhausted because you used up all of your energy and all of your nutrients to actually fight that threat that you're perceiving. So another thing that I touched about when I talked about digestion, there is also food that will feed stress. So I'm gonna, before getting into this, I want to talk, these all are the food that are part of the lactic acidosis. So everything here that we see, stress will pump a lot of, use up a lot of our nutrients. Like I said, it uses a lot of our energy. So the body is using all of the resources to be able to fight, flight, or freeze. When that's happening, we're using way more of our oxygen and our nutrients, and we are dumping way more CO2 and way more waste into the blood. So we are what we say to what we call lactic acidosis. There is more waste in the blood, so W for waste, and less oxygen and nutrients in your blood. So you're depleting your B vitamin, you're depleting your oxygen going to the brain and to the organs, and you're having more waste in your body. So these are the food that even either increase the amount of waste and further deplete your B vitamin. So it feeds the stress even further. You're even more often in a state of lactic acidosis. So artificial and refined sugar not only increase inflammation, we saw how is that a stress response, but also the pieces of our B vitamins, alcohol, processed food, refined carbohydrates, excessive caffeine, and any food that may cause an inflammatory response, because that's a stress response as well by the body. The body perceives stress in the form of organisms or in the form of anything, and then it responds to it. So food that is like GMO, dairy, gluten that can cause that inflammatory response is putting more stress on your body. Another now are the food that's how you fight the stress and actually can feed your body. So protein, like grass-fed red meat, poultry, liver, fish, and seafood are an amazing source of not only amino acid, so to help the body recover and the heart recover and your muscles recover, but also is a great source of B vitamins. So like what we saw earlier, when there is more, you're more stressed, there is more waste and less nutrients. So we want nutrient-rich food. We also saw that stress depletes us of our B vitamin. So having food that is rich in B vitamin, like red meat, liver, and fish, will help a lot in replenishing some of that B vitamin that we're using up so much. Healthy fats, very important for that brain, for those hormones, and for the adrenals, is also very good source of essential fatty acid that help with lowering the inflammation in the body, but also give us a better source of fuel, that cortisol, that blood sugar that the body is pumping. So healthy fat will be things like avocado, olives, fatty meat, nuts, seed, butter, healthy oils. So like fruit oils, coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil, those are the healthy oils. Omega-3. So omega-3 helps with fighting oxidative stress, which is a form of stress that is a response to inflammation. So mackerel, tuna, salmon, amazing sources of omega-3. Cod liver oil, sardine, oyster, walnuts, flaxseed, and chia seeds. And the last thing I want to talk about is minerals. So we talked about how the adrenals, how they're involved in the stress response. When your minerals when your adrenals are overworked, you are basically also using up your minerals in the body. So minerals like selenium, magnesium, potassium, calcium help with the heart that is overworking, but also help with producing certain mineral hormones that are made by your adrenals. So food rich in minerals will be things like in refined sea salt, spinach, nuts, pumpkin, seeds, dark chocolate, kale, pigs, and broccoli. And the other thing I also want to talk about is the vitamin D. So vitamin D is used by every cell of the body. Vitamin D receptors help in the skin, and we saw how that one gets stressed by stress, by the liver, by the kidneys, and it helps convert those into the hormones. So it activates the body to help regulate some of those systems that are being shut down, like the immune system, for example. It also helps with the absorption of all of the calcium and boost the immune system and the minerals that we just talked about. Vitamin C is also very important for the adrenals and for the heart and for the stress response. So food that are rich in vitamin C are bell peppers, kiwi fruits, citrus fruit, berries, dark and leafy greens, and broccoli. We talked about vitamin B, so I'm just listing some other ones, and any gut-friendly food. So we saw some of other lectures that I talked about how the gut stores 90% of serotonin. There's so much production there. There is of hormones and neurotransmitters, but also the gut talks to the brain. So if the brain gets the ball rolling when it comes to stress, it's actually from a response to the gut. So if the gut has dysbiosis, meaning imbalance of the gut, it might be sending stress information, even if there is no stress around. And then the brain is getting that ball rolling, and now you're in that chronic state of stress just because of the gut and friendly bacteria or the gut and friendly pathogens like fungus or anything like that. So eating fermented food, probiotic, Greek yogurt, or kefir, or whatever, your practitioner, talk to your practitioner about that, because certain food here may be contraindicated in certain immune response. So how do we stress management techniques? So activities that help with like what I call suspend time. So what you want to do when you're in chronic stress is actually unplugging from that source of immediate stress. And this is like everyday life. Especially in 2021. So things that help you unplug, like a walk in nature, exercise, reading, knitting, coloring, connecting with others, like a pet, a loved one, is very hard. The last 2 years have been very hard for us because we were not connecting and we're not staying social. It was social distancing. So that is actually, that put a lot of stress on people's health over the last 2 years. And smile and laughter, it helps produce endorphin or hormones that help with feeling better. And the body's like, well, if she's laughing or if they are laughing, she can't be in danger, they cannot be in danger. So it allows the body to relax and put its guard down and not be in that chronic stress anymore. Other things are things like aromatherapy, so essential oils. Essential oils help with the sense, helps with the limbic system, and it helps with telling your body to get out of that fight or flight response. Bach flowers, we have a few in the office, like fields of flower and count 5 that are my favorite. Deep breathing allows having more CO2, more oxygen, so reducing your CO2. Deep breathing brings more oxygen to the cells, which is also helping a lot with the lactic acidosis that we talked about. Again, that's like waste, reducing the waste by increasing the O2 in the blood, grounding, proper sleep. And the last one, I'm going to talk about my favorite supplements. So this is my favorite stress supplements. Overall, for overall stress that are followed with physical symptoms. So if you have a heart palpitation, if you have any tension here, like anxiety here, women also would have tension and stress here. So it'll be things like B complex. So cataplex B is one of my favorite, or cataplex G, Drenamine, great for the adrenals that are responsible of those stress hormone, Cardioplus and Vasculine. I also like supplements that are made of whole food vitamin C. So Ceruta Plus, Ceruta, Camu, vitamin C, liposome are three of my favorite. Now let's talk about the supplements that are for the nervous system. So minerals like Mintran, Minchex, Optimag Neuro is one of my favorite magnesiums for the nervous system and natural calm that we have. Another one that are for the nervous system that are made of whole food and herbal blends are inositol. I love inositol for kids and for patients that are on prescription drugs that may not be able to take some of our herbal. I also like Calm, Nevaton, Bacoba, and Cataplex G. That's very calming for the nervous system. The other one that I like for stress is supplements that support the hormones. So Simplex F for female, Simplex M for male, so support of the endocrine system and the hormones for female and male. I like Orchax, I like Orchic, I like Rojola and Shashandra herbs for the adrenals and for the endocrine system. And I love St. John's wort, especially for more of like learning, stress, and mood response. And I want to say thank you and happy holidays. Have a happy 4th of July. And I will see you soon. I will be sticking around. So if you have any question, please write it, leave it in the comments, and I will be responding them. And have a beautiful 4th of July and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.